Welcome to Astrology Heals, a podcast that brings you messages of hope and healing from the planets. I'm your host, Marina Ormes, author and founder of Astrology Heals. I'm an evolutionary and transformational astrologer of over 30 years. My purpose is to help you live your authentic truth with clarity, courage, and creative power. Something very important is happening in the sky this July. It's not new, but it is intensifying in potency and significance for us as human beings on our creative, evolutionary, and healing journey. I'm Marina Ormes, and this is episode 3 of Astrology Heals, Clarity, Courage, and Creative Power. Today, we're looking at the outer planet alignment taking place in July 2026, a long-term alignment with profound meaning and significance that intensifies in July of this year. The 3 outermost planets form a triangular formation, and this is unusual for several reasons that we're going to look at. But it means we're at a very potent moment in some big picture astrological cycles. These are profoundly creative alignments taking place in the background energy of planetary cycles. This is about what is happening and unfolding behind the scenes. We're talking about the outer planet, Pluto, which has a 244-year cycle, Neptune, with a 164-year cycle, and Uranus, which takes 84 years to travel around the zodiac. When any 2 of these planets come together in pairs, they begin their cycle. So, as you can imagine, these are very long-term, big picture cycles that unfold over many generations. The last time Neptune and Pluto came together in their cycle was 1891. That was the beginning of an approximately 500-year cycle involving the unfolding of our human mythology. So new sparks of mythology and how we see ourselves. Uranus and Pluto came together during the 1960s, and that brought a time of cultural shift and awakening. And then in the 1990s, the early 90s, Uranus and Neptune joined together, activating new technologies and consciousness. After their conjunction or coming together, 2 planets separate. Imagine a 360-degree circle with 2 planets traveling around that circle counterclockwise. One planet is moving just a little bit faster than the other, and as it approaches the slower moving planet, they come together. That is a conjunction. And then as the faster moving planet moves away from that slower moving planet, they begin to separate. And when they reach 60 degrees of separation, that is the sextile. It's a waxing sextile because they're moving apart. What's happening right now is not only has Neptune reached its waxing sextile with Pluto, which it did actually starting in the 1940s, but that's another story. They've actually been locked in a sextile traveling together for almost 100 years, or it will be almost 100 years by the time they move out of that sextile. But at the same time, it is also a sextile of Uranus to Neptune. Neptune has moved 60 degrees from Pluto. Uranus has moved 60 degrees from Neptune, forming a 120-degree trine to Pluto. This creates a triangle. If you think of a 6-pointed star, it's 3 points of that 6-pointed star. So we have 3 of the points. And this is what is happening now. It's been happening since 2024 when they came within a couple of degrees of this exact triangle. And as the years go on, the planets in 2025 and 2026 actually have come into less than half a degree of an exact triangle alignment. And then as time goes on, they will be still aligning as a triangle each year, but not quite as tightly until about 2029, 2030, when they will begin to move on from this alignment and no longer form that triangle. So what we have right now is from 2024 to 2029, this triangle is in place, or it's at least in place for part of the year each year. It has different names. Some people call it a magic triangle or a minor grand trine. I tend to call it a double sextile, but really I'm less interested in what we call it and more interested in what it brings. What are the dynamics that are here for us to play with? But not only that, from July 18th to 22nd, and this brings in why July is so important, July 2026, because we now have Jupiter briefly for a few days as the fourth point of the six-pointed star. So Jupiter will be in a waxing sextile to Uranus, which remember is in a waxing sextile to Neptune, which is in a waxing sextile to Pluto. So you have 4 points of the six-pointed star, and we call that a cradle. So adding emphasis to this already existing potent and very creative and significant alignment. So let's take a look at a waxing sextile and why it's important, what it means for us. A waxing sextile is a time in the cycle between two planets. And I explain this in my book, Cycles of Healing, so you can learn more about the planetary cycles in that book. But essentially, two planets have reached the point where they are, something is already in motion. So there's a creative process that unfolds throughout the cycle. Something is being born, something is being put in motion, something is being organized or created. And then there's, of course, the process of releasing that creations dissolving and being let go, right, as we create the space for something new. So in this process, the waxing sextile is the point in the cycle where we can begin to see what is yet to come. How we've started to create something in this creative cycle, in this cycle of healing and manifestation that we're on, this journey we're on. It's like the waxing crescent moon. You can start to see that moon starting to take shape in the sky. It's early in the cycle, but you can just get that glimpse of what it's going to look like once it reaches its fullness, its culmination. So at the waxing sextile, we're starting to see what we've begun to create. What are the results of the seeds that were planted at the conjunction at that time when we put something in motion? So the seeds are planted at the conjunction, and then at the waxing sextile, we're just beginning to get a glimpse of what it is we're actually creating. Hasn't come fully into being yet, but we can start to see what kind of shape it's going to take, what it's going to look like. So think of a field that has lots of different plants sprouting in it. Springtime, lots of new growth, but they're new. They're just starting to show themselves. You can see from their leaves and their shape and how they're growing what they're going to eventually be, but they certainly haven't reached that full completion of their cycle where they're blooming and giving fruit and all of that. But you can start to see in the field how the plants have emerged and are showing you what they are. This is the point in the cycle where we have a choice to make about how we are going to basically feed the plants we want to see grow and weed out the ones we don't want, which is really the perfect metaphor for our own creative and healing process. What do you want to feed and what do you want to weed out? And in this big picture cycle, these multiple cycles that are aligning at the same time, we are in the collective deciding what to nourish, what to feed, what to encourage, what to put our energy and resources into, and what to say no to, what to let go of. So it's a moment of opening doors, that there is support for what we want to put our energy and our effort into to see it grow and thrive. There's support there. The doors are open. There is a yes from the universe. There is wind that is coming along to further us along our journey, to blow our sails where hopefully where we want to go, right? So it's moving us in whatever direction we're pointed, but it's also that we are engaging in the process, because if we don't choose on purpose what to say yes to and what to say no to, we are allowing everything to grow and to naturally, in that field metaphor, we are allowing that natural competition to happen, but we can be involved. So do we want to just let it happen and see how it ends up? Do we want to do that? Or do we want to put our energy into helping the things we want to see grow and thrive, and clearly saying no to the things we don't want? So you can see how at this moment, right, this collective moment, which lasts several years at least, that we have this insight into what our deepest fears are, because those are the plants in that field that are the weeds that don't belong, that we don't want. They're revealing themselves to us so that we can identify them and we can say, oh, that is what I don't want. Thank you for showing me what I don't want. Now I'm going to say no. I'm going to pull out the weed, or I'm going to withdraw my energy and support from the things I don't want. And we also have, of course, at the same time, the invitation to put energy into the plants we want to see grow and thrive. So we can take care of them. We can give them the conditions that are right for them. We can invest our time, our energy, our resources, our love, our care into the things we want to see grow in our lives, and what that might look like in the collective or in your community or in your own life. It's asking yourself how you can be engaged to support the things you want to see and you want to encourage and you want to see come to fruition, and saying a clear no to the things you don't want. This is the moment. This is when that decision is being made. And again, you can hold back and say, well, let me just wait and see what happens. Or you can get involved and engaged in the things that matter to you. So whatever you have been working on throughout your life, cultivating your own unique gifts and skills, working with the experiences you've had, your life experiences, whether you wanted them or not, that becomes a resource you can draw from, because how you tell the story of your past and how you invest in the future you want it to become is important. So if you are telling a story of your past from the perspective of disempowerment, of fear, of things that cause you stress, then of course that is what you're investing in. But if you tell that story as something that you've been through, something that happened to you, but you do it from the perspective of where you want that story to end up in 10 or 20 or 30 years or 50 years, you can tell that story and make that choice in the present that is in alignment with that future outcome you want. So if you have a story from your past of something that happened to you that made you feel powerless or ashamed or whatever, if you tell that story in the present in a way that affirms that that story helped you become who you are, that it helped you learn more about yourself, get stronger, find your people, create something that could then help others. See how that becomes a new story from the same experience. So those are the kinds of things you can invest in and to participate in creating that outcome and that future in the way you want it to go. So that is your way of choosing to invest in the plants that you want to see thrive and to say, no, thank you to the story of disempowerment. And this year is especially important because it's the year that Saturn and Neptune have their conjunction. So speaking of conjunctions, this year, Saturn and Neptune came together on February 20th at 0 degrees Aries, the very beginning of the zodiac. So this is significant for many reasons, one of them being that they haven't had their conjunction at 0 degrees Aries in over 6,000 years. So the energy of new beginnings is very, very strong this year. New beginnings. We also have Uranus moving into Gemini this year, where it will stay until 2032. All three outer planets have now recently changed signs, so there's new energy. There's a shift in how we do things. And the choices that we have in front of us involve how we tell these stories, these bigger picture cycles of Neptune, Pluto, our human story, our human mythology. How do we want to tell the story of what it means to be human? What do we want that to look like? Of Uranus and Pluto, cultural shift and awakening. What do we care about related to freedom, equal rights, social consciousness? What does that look like? How do we want to invest in that? And the sextile between Uranus and Neptune speaks to new technologies and consciousness. So what do you want to feed? What do you want to weed out regarding technology and consciousness, new thinking and new ideas and new ways of sharing and receiving information? So these are all big picture areas that we are doing this work in and through. And you can bring it back to your own self and your own truth and find your courage, clarity, and creative power through asking yourself, what is your own life about? What are your gifts, skills, and experiences that you can invest in helping to grow the things that matter to you? So how can you apply your own knowledge, your own resources, your time, your care, and invest it in what you want to see grow and saying no to what you don't want. So, in other words, this is a very important moment. July, especially July 18th to 22nd of this year, is a peak moment in this bigger moment, and we have the wind in our sails. We just need to know where we're going, what we care about, what matters to us, and we don't have to be perfect. So don't worry if you don't feel like you've done everything right. It's really about trying. It's really about being willing to move in new directions and find the courage to take risks in ways that push you out of your comfort zone so that you are affirming that it matters to you. Whatever you want to get involved in or participate in, or how you want to show up with your fellow human beings, how you want to support your own creative process, all of that is part of how we do this. So keep going. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep trying and keep, importantly, moving forward. One foot in front of the other, next small goal and the next small goal and the next risk and the next courageous action, keeping you moving forward. I recently wrote an article about the outer planet sextiles in 2026, and it was published in the Evolving Astrologer. You can read it for free online at astro.com. Just search for the title Outer Planet Sextiles in 2026, an Evolutionary Perspective. Thanks for joining me today, and please, if you haven't already, follow and rate this podcast. I so appreciate your support. Today we talked about some big picture energies, but you can find out more about the energy of each day by following me on YouTube. I have daily Mood of the Day videos at Astrology Heals. Thanks for being here, and until next time, be well. This is Marina Ormes. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Astrology Heals, Clarity, Courage, and Creative Power. If you'd like to dive in a little deeper with this material, I invite you to join my member community at transformationalastrology.com. There, we work together to unlock the energy of each unique moon cycle through guided meditations, exercises, and more to support you in your journey to be your best self and to be the best you can be to make a positive difference in the world around you. That's transformationalastrology.com. Check it out. You can also find daily Mood of the Day videos on my YouTube channel at Astrology Heals. See you there.